All right, good evening. We're going to get started in just a moment. Grab a cookie or some coffee. I've had enough coffee, I think. So, but I'll try not to talk too fast. Right. So good evening and welcome to our Anderson Dam Seismic Retrofit Project Update public meeting. My name is Mike Potter and I lead our community outreach team at Valley Water. I'll be your MC tonight. This meeting is being recorded for anyone who couldn't participate or who wants to watch it over and over again later on. The link to the video will be available on the project webpage at the Valley Water website and the Valley Water YouTube channel. And tonight's slide presentation is already on the website. So the project page, if you wanted to follow along or share that with someone, or if you're at home, can't see the slides. For our online audience, I want to remind you to please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen instead of the chat box to ask questions or to raise your virtual hand to speak when we get to the Q&A part. Staff will respond to your questions at the end of this presentation. And tonight I want to acknowledge some elected officials and their staffs who have joined us tonight. We have Morgan Hill Vice Mayor Marilyn Liebers and Councilmember Miriam Vega. And joining us from the state legislature is Marianne Groen, District Director for Assemblymember Gail Pellerin. Thank you for being here. And Jordan Montgomery with Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren's office. Project wouldn't have been able to happen without her leadership. And now I'd like to introduce you to our director, John Varela, a member of our Valley Water Board. He represents this area and the area where the Anderson Dam project is located. Director Varela was first appointed to serve on Valley Water's board in December 2015 and was elected by voters in 2016, 18, and 2022 to represent District 1, which includes the cities of Gilroy, Morgan Hill, unincorporated San Martin, and parts of East and South San Jose. Director Varela is also a former mayor and council member for the city of Morgan Hill. Please welcome Director John Varela.
Good evening, good afternoon, and how are you, everybody? Is the weather strange or what? I think we're part of the public that there was a hurricane that was in southern Mexico that has moved up the coast. We're supposed to get rain tonight, be ready, and also possibly through the weekend. So again, thank you, Michael, for introducing me. It's a real pleasure for me tonight to be here with you, to present to you and give you an update on what is developing with our Anderson Dam project, our outlet, and the contractor procurements that we have contracted with. Rebuilding Anderson Dam is Valley Water's top priority. The project will help ensure public safety, protect our regional water supply, and provide environmental benefits for generations to come. Since we started construction on the project in 2021, we've reached a few major milestones, including completion of the tunnel excavation, modifications in Coyote Creek downstream of the dam, and construction of a large diversion outlet structure. Once we finish the tunnel, we can start on the larger dam project, lowering the face of the dam, and that is what is called the Seismic Retrofit project, which was a mandated project, by the way, by the state of California for the tunnel and the dam by the federal government. So you just so that you're aware of that. Tonight, we'll present an update on the project timeline, permit status, and next steps. I appreciate everyone here, and for those of you on Zoom for taking the time to participate tonight, thank you. And I will return the microphone back to our water staff and Mr. Michael Potter. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Varela. Also joining us tonight, I want to make sure we recognize Mario Lopez with California Senator Dave Cortese's office. For tonight's presentation, we have Colette Frawley, a senior engineer with Valley Water. She will first give an overview of the construction progress. For Zoom audience, remember to enter your questions into the Q&A box or to raise your virtual hand. We'll unmute you after the presentation. You can ask your questions. Colette, come on here. Welcome.
Evening. Oh, it says, everyone hear me? Like, okay? No.
Oh, sorry, okay. That feels unusually close.
My name is Colette Frawley. I'm the co-project manager of the Anderson Dam Seismic Retrofit project, along with Julian, who's also here. So typically, Ryan McCarter, our deputy operating officer, gives these presentations, but he couldn't be here with us this evening. So I have some rather large shoes to fill tonight. He normally does a fantastic job with these presentations, but I'll try to do my best. So I want to thank everyone for coming this evening and showing interest in this project. Like Director Rowell said, this is a top priority for Valley Water and also for the safety of this community. So thank you for being here and thank you for showing interest. I'm very excited to share with you guys some progress and share with you guys some updates tonight.
Yeah, you can take that off. Right.
So for tonight's agenda, we go over the progress schedule for various projects. I'm going to go over the project overview, the tunnel construction updates. I'm also going to give you seismic retrofit updates, and then I'm also going to share some milestones and share with you guys the next steps for the project. Thinking about that delay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a great slide to start off with. It helps illustrate the various projects and their relationship. It's also a great slide to start off with because it gets a lot of the acronyms out of the way very early in the presentation. And we really love acronyms on this project. We love acronyms so much we put acronyms in acronyms. So starting on the right, we have this grouping. This is the FERC border compliance projects. That's that acronym within an acronym. FERC, which is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. They have jurisdiction over Anderson Dam due to a hydroelectric facility that was constructed in the 80s. So in 2020, they issued an order to Valley Water to drain Anderson Dam, and that's below the 60% capacity that was already restricted to by the state. And we were also required to construct our tunnel project as quickly as possible. And that's how we got the Anderson Dam tunnel project. We had to break that out from our main seismic retrofit project. And that's the project that you see in construction now. So when you're driving on Cochrane Road and you see construction, that's the Anderson Dam tunnel project, or ADTP, as we like to call it. Next, we have the Coyote Creek flood management measures. In advance of ADTP being completed, we need to prepare Coyote Creek to receive additional capacity in areas that would have been susceptible to flooding. Next, we have the Cross Valley Pipeline Extension Project, which imports water to Coyote Creek. And that is for groundwater recharge or environmental flows, help keep Coyote Creek wet while Anderson is empty. Next, we have the Coyote Creek Stream Augmentation Fish Protection Measures Project. With the name that long, you'd think we'd make an acronym. That's the Chillers Project. And what that project does is it helps chill imported water and put it into Coyote Creek just below Anderson Dam to help protect fish because they don't like the warm imported water. And the next, we have the Coyote Percolation Dam Replacement Project, and that is the replacement of a steel flashboard dam with a bladder dam. So that collection of projects is called the FOCP, FERC Border Compliance Projects. And on the left, we have the Anderson Dam Seismic Retrofit Project, or ADSRP. And in summary, that project will be the almost total complete replacement of our vacant dam, construction of a new higher capacity outlet work system, construction and extension of a new spillway that will be able to convey higher flows. And we'll also be increasing the height of our dam. That is an incidental height increase. We're not increasing the storage capacity of our dam. That's to help convey those larger storm flows through the spillway. So this is a summary of our program schedules for those various projects. starting in 2013 with the design of Anderson Dam. And the star represents today's date along with that vertical line. Of course, in 2020, that's when we had that major shift where we had to break out all of those projects for FOCP, including the new tunnel project, which was broken out of the ADSRP project. So since we last presented to you guys in February at our last public meeting, the Coyote Brook Dam project, the Coyote Creek Flood Management Measures project, and the Cross Valley project have all completed construction and have wrapped up. So that's major progress. And the Chillers project will be completed in early 2026, and the Anderson Dam Tunnel project will be completed in November of 2026. So focusing on ADSRP, we're moving through our procurement process. Pre-qualified 3 construction contractors that specialize in dam construction. And next week on Tuesday, we'll be going to the board to ask for authorization to invite those 3 contractors to bid on our construction contract. So that's major news. That's a huge milestone for the project. And what that means is that we've wrapped up our final design and we've submitted our bid package. So you see the design moves past today's date, and the reason for that is we anticipate that the contractors will have questions about the design that our designers will have to respond to. So we plan to award the construction contract in July of 2026. We'll start construction in January 2027, and construction will wrap up in December of 2033. So this graphic illustrates the major components of ADSRP that I've already explained. In the center, that full figure is the replacement embankment dam. And the reason why we're replacing that is because when it was built in the 1950s, it was built using liquefiable material in the upstream slope and foundation. So in the event of an earthquake, it has the potential to experience liquefaction and settle. And if the reservoir were full, it could potentially overtop. And because this is an earthen dam, it has the potential to experience erosion and potentially experience catastrophic failure. So that's why we're replacing the dam. And I will walk you through what that construction sequence looks like later on in this presentation. The top of the slide is our spillway that is being extended through the unlined portion. That'll be the higher capacity spillway. We also have 2 new independent outlet work systems in the blue and purple that will be able to move water out of Anderson Dam. The low-level outlet work system is our primary system. We'll be able to use that to move water both into the reservoir and out of the reservoir. We'll also be able to use that to put water into Coyote Creek as well as our water supply system. The high-level outlet works will be used for emergency drawdown. At the bottom is our Basalt Hill borrow area. That will be our main supply for material to construct the dam, in addition to the actual dam itself. We have the hydroelectric facility here. This will be decommissioned because we are getting out of the power business for a water company. Okay. So this slide shows the main components of the Anderson Dam Tunnel project. See how it aligns very closely with the Anderson Dam Seismic Retrofit project. I'll walk you through these components and let you know which ones have already been constructed. So in green is the intake trash rack. That has already been constructed. In blue is the lake tap, which was installed with a microtunnel boring machine. That has already been constructed. The red is the tunnel. That has been excavated, but we're still working on the final lining. Same with the high-level outlet works in yellow. That has been excavated, but we're still working on the final lining. And the outlet works in purple, the outlet structure in purple. That's that big concrete box when you're driving by. That's been constructed, but the pipes have not been installed. In brown up at the top, that's the North Channel Weir. That was completed last summer. So this is our stage 1 diversion system. This is the same thing that you just saw, but in a profile view. So I'll walk you through this. We're going to have corresponding construction photos to each segment here. So our blue lake top 8-foot diameter pipe Actually added an extension onto this that's going to be backfilled with a low density concrete. And the reason why we added this extension on is because we're actually going to realign this during ADSRP. So we didn't want to make it harder for us to excavate this during ADSRP. In red is our tunnel area. This will be our low level outlet works in ADSRP. We're installing articulated joints here. And what those are is, in the event an earthquake causes fault offset in the tunnel, they'll be able to move independently of each other. So during ADSRP, we'll be installing the water carrier pipe. It's 5 and 10 foot segment pipes, or 5 and 10 foot segment joints that are able to move around the pipe in the event there's an earthquake. So it'll be able to protect the pipe and keep the pipe intact. Next, we have our 13-foot diameter steel pipe. And that 13-foot diameter steel pipe bifurcates into 2 11-foot diameter pipes that discharges to the purple diversion outlet structure where it dissipates this energy and then flows to Coyote Creek. So these are the construction photos. So this is the 8-foot diameter pipe before it was backfilled with the low density concrete. And the reason why we use low density concrete is because we are excavating it during ADSRP and we don't want to make it harder for ourselves. So this is the same on the left-hand side. This is the same 8-foot diameter pipe, just looking the opposite direction. Up at the top, you see a yellow membrane. That is our waterproofing. And the reason for that is to prevent groundwater from draining into our tunnel. Down at the bottom of the picture, you can see placement of our reinforcing steel before concrete was placed. And to the left is our 13-foot diameter steel pipe, and it is quite large. That is one of our inspectors that is standing in the pipe. So you can really get a sense of just how much water is going to be flowing through those pipes. Those supports that you see in the center, those are temporary. Those are called stoling. And the purpose of those is to help keep the shape of the pipe during transportation. So these are our articulated joint segments. You can see just how much rebar is there. This is before concrete is placed. And the purpose for that is we want them to be as strong as possible. So the actual joints themselves are made up of a ton of rebar and very, very strong concrete. And then in between the joints is a very, very weak material. So in the event of an earthquake, the actual material in between the joints would rupture, but the joints themselves would stay intact. This is also the articulated joints after the concrete had been placed. But I want to highlight the formwork in this photo. So it's called an Everest Traveler form, and it's a really efficient system and allows the contractor to place concrete very quickly. So essentially, they're able to place concrete. The form helps form the concrete in the shape of our tunnel. And once the concrete's hardened, they're able to move the formwork to the next segment. So on the left, you see the form with the traveler underneath it. And on the right, you see the form with the traveler, without the traveler. So they're able to quickly move the formwork, and it's a really efficient system. This is an aerial image of our north channel. The structure that has the zigzag pattern is our north channel labyrinth here. And this is where the majority of our flows will go at the end of construction of ADT. So moving back to the seismic retrofit project. We've already talked about the main components of ADSRP. We've talked about the new seismically stable dam. We've talked about the higher capacity spillway and the new outlet work systems. But there are some features that you might be interested in as an everyday park use. So at the end of construction, that's what this figure is. This is what the final configuration will look like. The upper parking lot will be expanded, so there'll be additional parking. up at the top of the dam, and large parking spaces too for boats. We're gonna be replacing the boat ramp and the floating dock. We're also gonna have a new ADA ramp that leads to the floating dock. We're also gonna be refurbishing the bathroom up at the top. The entrance to the park is gonna be reconfigured. We're gonna have a new entrance kiosk. We're gonna have a new inspection kiosk. And the entrance has been configured so that the traffic can move off of Cochrane and queue off of Cochrane while waiting to enter into the park. We're also widening the roadway up to the top. We're also widening Cochrane Road. So anyone who's driven Cochrane Road knows that that blind sharp turn at the end of the dam. We're going to be widening that. Live Oak at the end of Live Oak Park at the end of the project. We're going to be restoring that park. We're going to have new picnic areas, new shade structures, new trails. We're also going to reestablish the old Serpentine Trail. So I'm going to walk you through the construction sequencing of the embankment dam. It will take us 5 years to actually build the new dam. That is 2.5 years of excavation and 2.5 years of fill. That's going to start in year 2 of construction. So there's only so much material you can move in 1 year or 1 season of construction. Our season starts in April and it goes to November. We'll be starting, is that in year 2, you can see right there, that's our first interim dam. In year 2, bring it down. Year 2, we excavate year 3, and in year 4 is when we hit foundation in our remnant core. Year 4, we also start to come back up again. Year 5, we also come back up. By year 6, we'll have a new dam that is built with modern design standards and construction standards. At the end of each season, we're going to be installing a temporary spillway on each interim dam, and that is to prevent erosion in the event of overtop. That spillway will be built out of articulated concrete blocks, and they'll be installed in like a mat configuration. So all the material to build the dam will be sourced from on-site with the exception of the filter and drain material. So it's going to be sourced from our existing dam, it's going to be sourced from the Basalt Hill Borrow area, and it's going to be sourced from the Packwood Gravel Borrow Pit. Don't believe that name, that's where we're getting our clay core from. We're not getting any gravel from there. Very mislabeled. So you can see those, they're here in gold. And in order to keep our construction duration to 5 years, we have to be able to stage all of that material inside the reservoir in stockpile areas. And that is shown here in blue. This is where all of our stockpiles will be. And they're connected by a series of culverts. So we need to be able to stage them as close to the embankment construction as possible. But in areas that are on terrace deposits, so they sit up above the actual water. So this is our intake tower. We had kind of an opportunity for a last minute design change. An intake tower was originally ruled out due to concerns about fault locations, and our intake structure design was for a sloping intake structure, which is like this big behemoth structure that took a lot of concrete with a lot of grading. It was this massive structure. And an opportunity presented itself during the excavation of the tunnel for ADTP, where we had the opportunity to actually observe what would be the foundation of the intake tower. Turns out it was actually the perfect location for an intake tower. So we were able to pivot last minute and redesign our intake structure to an intake tower. And And this was a fantastic move because this is a more seismically resilient structure. It's actually cheaper. It's less impactful because it takes less concrete, so it'll be less concrete trucks driving on Cochrane Road. So all around, the major win for the project, although our designer had an aneurysm when we asked him to redesign the intake street and 90% design. So this is what it will look like at the end of construction. Look at that beautiful full reservoir. So next I'm going to share with you guys some milestones that we've achieved since our last meeting in February and the next steps for the project. So the last time we met was just before we certified the final environmental impact report. So that's been done. We certified our final impact report. That was a major milestone for the project. The culmination of a lot of hard work by our environmental team. In June, we received our final 401 water quality certification from the state water boards. As I mentioned, next week, we're going to the board to ask for authorization to invite the contractors to bid on our construction project. Again, what that means is that we've submitted our bid package, that's our final design. And this is going to be almost a year-long bid period because we're doing a best value procurement method. What that means is it's very critical to us to get the best contractor possible. So they're not going to be evaluated on price alone. They're also going to be evaluated on their technical capabilities. So they have to submit technical submittals to prove that they're the best contractor for this. In October, we anticipate receiving our final latent stream bed alteration agreement from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. In March, we expect to receive our final 401 permit from the Army Corps. In May is when we will receive the bid proposal submittal from the contractors. In July is when we plan to issue we plan to award the construction contract to the best value contractor and issue a administrative notice to proceed. What that means is that the contractor will be given a notice to proceed to start preparing submittals so that when January 2027 hits, they'll be able to hit the ground running and be able to be a very effective contractor and be able to start mobilizing very, very quickly. And year one will be a success right after the gate. So January 2027, issue our second MTP for mobilization and the first year of construction. Construction will wrap in December 2033. And then in December 2035, project will be accepted after a 2-year landscape maintenance. Any questions?
Thank you for that presentation. I also wanted to acknowledge that we've been joined by Morgan Hill Mayor Mark Turner and Gilbert Ramos with Speaker Robert Rivas' office. So I think this is the most elected representatives at any Anderson meeting that we've had. So thank you so much for being able to join us. And just before we go to the Q&A, how many people, this is your first meeting for this project? Terrific. So hopefully you learned a lot. All this information, all these slides, some of them are in the back of the room, but all of them are on our project page. So with that, we'll see who has a question in the room. All right, I'll bring the mic to you. Don't go away, Colette.
Was the dam built in 1950 in one season?
Yeah, so are you rubbing it in?
I'm sorry.
Yes, it was. Are you rubbing it in?
No, not at all. I'm just trying to get a little time frame because I've seen photographs of it being built with World War II surplus steam shovels and little dump trucks.
Yeah, 1950 exactly, and it was built in one season.
Okay, great. So does anybody here think things are out of control on the this dam project? I mean, it seems insane that I know a Yukon Fall or a Turnipple. I think they could take this dam down in 1 year and put it back up in 1 year, as they did in 1950.
Unfortunately, well, in 1950, was not an already active waterway. Also, there was not as much of a population downstream. But we're restricted to the amount of material that we can move in 1 year
By who?
by seasonal work windows.
I see. So the folks that did it, so these little 5-yard dump trucks in 1950, they didn't have that rule.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and do I understand correctly, nothing will be done next year as far as moving dirt? It's gonna be paperwork?
Next year, 2026,
Yeah,
that's correct.
okay, so
Well,
no work is being done, it's just paperwork.
Yeah, we will not have awarded the construction contract until July of 2026, and then the first year of construction is 2027.
Thank you.
We do have permits for this project, and different than in 1950, there were 13 regulatory agencies that have had to approve the work that we're doing. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So that was quite a bit of paperwork.
That's 13 years.
Pardon?
That's 13 years at stake.
Well, it's been quite a process.
Yeah.
Okay, other questions in the room? Yes, sir.
I'm curious what the Coyote percolation dam is. You mentioned it early. What is that and where is it?
The Coyote Percolation Dam, it's further downstream, and it was a steel flashboard dam that it's for. And so they replaced it with the steel flashboard dam that they originally had to put in manually. And now it's a bladder dam that they can lower and raise and push them up.
It's right next to the county trail and kind of behind the California Maison condo development. Is that right? So it's not too far past the Metcalf ponds.
Kind of coincidence. Right, it's a different project in effect.
It's connected to this project. Right, see one back here?
Thank you. I see by the drawing that the existing hydroelectric facility will be removed. Will there be any hydroelectric capability for the dam when it's finished?
No, we are surrendering our hydroelectric facility. Right now, we're under FERC jurisdiction. We are looking forward to not being.
Much rather.
The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission is the regulatory agency for this project because of that hydro. As a part of this project, we are not rebuilding it. We've taken it offline. And so it won't be, once it's done, it won't be under federal energy. Andrew would know the answer to that.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Andrew Garcia, I'm the Assistant Officer, Dam Safety Capital Delivery Division. So just to give a little bit more information, right? So Anderson Dam's not operated like a typical hydroelectric facility is. So the amount of electricity that we're generating, it's like 800 kilowatts. It just doesn't pencil out to continue to operate and maintain that facility because of the way we operate the dam.
This is the largest reservoir.
It's just a tiny little hydro part of it. Yes, sir.
Hi, Roberto Ferreira, Senior Park Ranger for Santa Clara County Parks. Do you guys have a date for the closing of Ligo parking lot?
So they're gonna need to close it for the Live Oak Restoration Reach project, which should be starting construction in May of 2026.
For how long until the end of the project?
Until the end of ADSRP.
Yeah, and we've been coordinating with county parks. We have folks here, we've been working with county parks on making sure that we have the property acquisition and easements, things like that. So we'll be coordinating that shut off date with their staff.
It probably stipulated what the rebuilt park's gonna look like too.
Yeah, Colette is very familiar with all the county park staff and all the standards and have a lot of input into what that looks like. So we, right.
Thank you for being here. Yes.
Has the funding been acquired for the whole project, and what's the estimated cost to get to 2035?
Yeah, so the funding for the project, we do have some loans and some other, do we have other grants? We will be applying for different state and federal grant opportunities, although with the current administration, I think some of those are maybe a little bit more in question. But the full scope of the project, I think we're estimating just under $2 billion. Is that correct? 2.3 billion, but I think that about that ballpark. Yeah, so. Yeah, so we have 23 million. 26 million under the safety and water program, but the remainder of the project is funded under our water.
Part of the funding comes from the federal.
The Whitfield loans, is that?
No, we just have, yeah, exactly, loans, but not.
But low-cost loans from through the federal government to help pay for the project, and we pay them back with water rates. But some of the funds, 23 million, are from our safe clean water parcel tax, local source funds, and then you're gonna apply for other grants.
They come up, correct.
See some more hands in the room? Are we looking on Zoom, Gianna? Do we have some questions? Okay, we'll get these two in the room, and then we'll go to the Zoom questions.
On this larger project, how many bids do you expect to come in? Obviously, Joe's Construction can't handle this. How many do you think are gonna come in?
So we actually had a very rigorous pre-qualification process. We released our pre-qualification application in December of last year. And they submitted their applications in February. And in May, we pre-qualified every contractor that submitted. So as I said, we had a very rigorous pre-qualification process. So if they were not going to make that pre-qualification, they were not going to submit an application. So all contractors that were pre-qualified had to have demonstrated that they had experience building dams of similar size, building tunnels, and building spillways.
Ballpark of how many is that?
Three.
Three. Great, thank you. Another question in the room? Here we go.
There's an open space up above the dam to the south. An acquisition for a donation of beer. I've heard some rumor that that is not just gonna be gated off space so you can't walk down the tree. Close the hole. Makes no sense to me. Over Sinden Park, Rosenden.
So
And so you have a comment, so what I've heard is rumor so far, can you verify that?
the reason why Rosenden Park, sorry, the reason why Rosenden Park is closed off is because we're gonna be blasting in basalt belt. I can show you a slide. I can show you a slide what that was.
Taking some of that hillside at the end of Rosenden Park and using that material, which is the reason there's a parking lot at the boat ramp. Is that was part of the original material for the original dam.
So this is Rosenden Park right here. This is our basalt hill bar area. And it's made of a fairly hard basalt rock. And the only way to excavate that is with blasting. So the contractor will excavate that as much as possible using conventional means. But once they get to rock that's too hard to excavate, they'll have to blast. So the reason why we will close it is because the contractor has to start blasting. And it's for public safety because there's the potential for fly rock.
How many years does blasting take?
So blasting would occur only in year 4, 5, and 6, but depending on the contractor's schedule, it could be less. So we would only close it when the contractor's blasting.
Somebody might go down by accident. Or you have gated off. Signs. I'm just concerned because our community up there. Close for 3 years. I would like it to make sense to me.
The partial closure, is that right? It's not the entire park? Or-
So it's a full closure during the initial blasting, which is the very, very top, which is where you have the risk of the furthest distribution of fly rock. And then it's a partial closure during the majority of the excavation. So we anticipate initial blasting would last about 3 to 4 months. And then The partial closure would be for the rest of the duration for plastic. So again, that would be at the most year 4, 5, and 6. But once the contractor's done with plastic, we would open it up again.
And just to add, it's very complicated, right? The timing, the schedule, when's this gonna happen, when's not gonna happen. So we have Gianna here and our public information office staff. These sort of meetings where we can get that information out and keep you all regularly updated as contractors doing and continue those notifications.
My line, so on our project page, you can sign up to be notified of these things, and we will have lots of messaging and emails and extra posts to make sure the neighbors in the community are, and county parks as well. There's lots of users of that park. And it's in our one pager there too.
Handed him was their flyer. There's a nice paragraph that explains all of the Rosenberg Park closure.
You read our materials, good job. And now, yes, of course,
So, I'm from Assemblymember Keller's office. I was just texting her, have you guys come to us for help with, the state grants?
You offered state grants?
You guys are applying for state grants. Have you come to our office for help in endorsing those?
You're offering, we'll take it.
we will make sure that our Office of Government Relations loops you in on any requests, and so
Please.
you got it. Thank you for that.
Were there any more questions? No.
Yes, there are, we're gonna go to the Zoom
Make sure
question,
we have all the questions answered.
we're gonna do the Zoom question now.
Okay, go.
Okay, so the first one I had is, are there any risks to the neighborhood when the dam is lowered?
Yeah, there are risks to the neighborhoods below or up above, I guess.
It's not specified, but I guess risk to any neighborhood when the dam is lowered.
There is an increased risk, but that's part of the reasons why we did the coyote flood protection project, flood protection measures project, and also the flood protection project. And then that is also why we are installing temporary spillways on each dam.
Thank you. And then the next question is, do you know what the construction hours will be? They noticed that construction is happening after daylight and noted that at one point a water pump was running throughout the night.
I'm assuming they're talking about ADT. Are they asking about the tunnel project construction hours or specific to ADSRP?
If we can speak to both, that would be great. It's not specific to which project, but if we have both, that would be wonderful.
I'll answer seismic retrofit project and then answer tunnel project hours. So for ADSRP, there's gonna be portions of time where there will be 24-hour construction, especially during the embankment construction season. And tunneling as well. Keep in mind, though, that is not going to last all year long because we will not be constructing the embankment past November. But there will be concrete trucks will be concrete will be placed at night. Tunnel is 24/7 operation, and then embankment work is 24 hours from April to November.
Yeah, for the Anderson Dam Tunnel projects, we no longer have the overnight work, some of the tunnel excavation that Colette referred to earlier, that was done throughout the night. What I believe this member of the public is referring to for the pump running is the work in the south channel that Colette was talking about. Where they're dewatering and putting in another weir, so they had a pump running overnight to keep that dewatered. But other than that, the work that would be happening early in the morning would also be concrete trucks coming in for that articulated joint final lining. Typically, we do that early in the morning around 4 or 5 a.m. so that the concrete is cool on hot days. So that will also be able to ship a little bit later now that we're getting later in the season.
Great, I see some more hands in the room.
Where does the imported water come from to replace the water that is no longer in the reservoir, and how much does that cost?
So the imported water that makes its way to Anderson, I'm sure most of you have driven over 152 and gone past San Luis Reservoir. So we bring in our federal Central Valley Project water mostly into the reservoir and makes its way all the way to the shape conduit into the reservoir. So that water is a fixed cost. So Valley Water already has those contracts annually, both their State Water Project and Central Valley Project water. So right now, with Anderson being down, we actually have to find other places to put it, other places to use it. So that's a fixed cost. Those contracts have been in place since the 70s and are extended through for the next however many decades. So the imported water supply is a fixed cost for Valley.
Our county gets about 40% of its water through that process every year. No, there's pipelines connecting San Luis Reservoir, and that's often how we fill Anderson during dry years, is we can pump the water into. Your head is.
Short question, long question. Short question, what is a WEIR, W-E-I-R? Longer question has to do with the amount of construction truck traffic within the project area. Are you moving material around by truck, or at one point you were talking about maybe using a conveyor belt? And for the material that comes in from outside the project area, other than the concrete that was just mentioned, what kind of trucks are we gonna experience there? Thank you.
So first of all, a weir is, it's a way of helping to dissipate energy and water. So for example, the labyrinth weir that we showed, it's the accordion shape that you saw. It's a way of making a long line very short. So the water the water flows over that weir and then all piles down over it. It's a way to kind of slow down that water as it funnels down the channel. And then you asked about what materials being imported.
What mechanisms are you using to move material within the project area? Because at one time, I don't know whether there's a rumor, but they were talking about conveyor belt rather than trucks. And then outside of the project area, you just mentioned concrete trucks coming in. What other kinds of loads are expected to be using our roads to get to the project?
Yeah, so we will not be using conveyor belts. There'll be material within the project will be transported using very large equipment. So like the big giant cat haul trucks that you see, like the big Tonka on the large scale. So we'll have very wide haul roads. So the contractor will use those to move material, potentially even scrapers, depending on what the material source actually is. So probably for the clay core, right, they might use scrapers, but the reality is they'll probably be just like larger trucks. The conveyor belt was not used. That was something that was explored, but could not be used because it would have extended the duration of construction. And then as far as additional material that will be imported, it's our sand and filter material. We'll have about 2,000 cubic yards of material that will be imported for the project. And that will be imported using just standard haul trucks, highway trucks, about probably 16 cubic yard trucks. And those have to adhere to the typical hours on Cochrane Road. Concrete trucks are the only exception to the rule. So those will be, I think the hours are between, 8 and 4.
Thank you.
You've got a couple more questions in the back here.
Hi, you're talking about coming up Cochrane Road. That's just Morgan Hill City Street. And you said you were going to be widening it. At what point will you be widening that? From Mission View on up to the dam? Because I'm concerned about the weight of the vehicles that are gonna be traveling up on to,
the hillside or however far up they have to go. So when will we be widening Cochrane? And will it be widened to a point where the density of the asphalt, I presume you're using, will be sufficient to accommodate that heavy load day in, day out?
So the actual widening of the road is only going to occur in the county portion of Cochrane Road, so that is just right at the toe. But it sounds like the concern that you're expressing is the what is Cochrane Road gonna look like at the end of construction? Because we're gonna have a lot of haul trucks and a lot of concrete trucks that are coming up Cochrane Road. So we've been working very closely with the city of Morgan Hill. It's been fantastic to work with, and as construction progresses, we'll make sure that our contractor is repairing the road, and at the very end of construction, we've already done a condition assessment report or a condition assessment of Cochrane Road, and that's been reviewed by the city of Morgan Hill. And at the end of construction of Anderson, we're gonna make sure that Cochrane looks as it does now. So however much we impact Cochrane Road, we'll be repairing it.
Oh, a question just for clarity. So the only place you're gonna be widening the road is kind of when it gets to the bend where you would go like up to the boat launch, that area, not anything down by the park.
Not down by the park. Correct.
And at the curve there, at the turn,
Just at the curb, yeah.
and the big haul trucks are gonna be used up inside the project, not reversing the streets.
Those are not highway trucks.
Those are not highway trucks.
Not
So those are
strictly haul.
trailered in, yeah, okay. Thank you. Here's a question right here.
How does Coyote Reservoir play into this? Is it gonna be used as a buffer for rain events that the spillway can't handle?
So Coyote Reservoir operations are not going to deviate. Coyote is already under a restriction. So it'll operate as normal. So we also have environmental flows that we're required to keep between Coyote and Anderson. So in terms of what we have to handle in terms of what's released from Coyote in the event of a spill event, that would be during winter. So you would expect, so we would already have our interim dam set up and our diversions set up at that point.
We're gonna have a pipeline that will take that water around the project and down into Coyote Creek. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And our diversion system can handle over 6,000 CFS.
Got a couple more on Zoom.
Yeah, so the next one I have is another concern is safety as the construction trucks are driving fast in the local road. We have a narrow and curving road with deer occasionally in the middle of the road.
Is that for Cochrane?
It's not specified, but I all of that, those roads in that area do tend to have deer, as we've all seen, and wildlife in the area, so we maybe just touch on the concern of.
Yeah, so
I got clarification, yes, Cochrane.
thank you. So the contractor is required to provide sort of a traffic management plan for Cochrane that talks about their use of Cochrane. They're also required to sort of police all of their suppliers, including all trucks. So that is one of the things that will be leaning on our contractor. It's important to us, one, because we want to be good neighbors and make sure that we're not impacting Cochrane or the neighborhood as much as possible. We also need to make sure that the heavier they're driving on Cochrane, the more and so it also benefits us to make sure that they're driving under the speed.
This is another commercial for signing up to be notified about our project on a project page and to let Gianna, the community liaison, know if somebody driving a truck does something that they shouldn't be doing, if they're going too fast, let us know and we'll be sure to let them, then they gotta deal with Colette.
Correct, like Mike said, so even for the ongoing Anderson Dam Tunnel project, we do get information from folks who live in the area about trucks that might be driving too fast. And so we'll work with our contractor, but not just our contractor. We have Valley Water staff who are on site. On the construction management support side, we also have construction management contractors who are out there. So collectively, we tackle this problem sort of head on. Because like Colette referred to, we do feel like there's a responsibility to be a good neighbor. A lot of us live in these communities as well. So yeah, we're definitely on top of that. So reach out if you have concerns.
Thank you. We got one in the room here.
Quick question, you said there's 3 contractors that are gonna be considered for this project, are they California based or are they coming from out of state?
There's 2 contractors and 1 JV team, and out of that JV team, one of those contractors is a California contractor. What is it?
JD.
Oh, sorry, JV stands for joint venture.
Where are the others from?
I think one's from Colorado, I think one's from Montana, and I think.
Are they really in China?
No, they're all US contractors.
It's part of the pre-qualification. They have to have experience building reservoirs and dams here, right? So
This is all public information, but it's Hewitt, it's Barnard, and the joint venture is Seismic, who's the California company, and Flatiron.
do you have any other questions? I see one across the room. Getting my steps in tonight.
That's what I wanted to ask, just doing it for you. Just a fun fact, back in the 1950s, scientists actually didn't know that soil liquefied and its consistency turned jello. So, you know, the thing with regulatory agencies in the last decade is a completely different issue, but the dam was actually built according to good standards at the time, and then we discovered we didn't know kind of an important thing. Just a fun fact.
Thank you for that. Any other in the room? Here's one, sir.
I'd like to know what type of quality assurance and quality control programs you have for this project.
Yeah, so our quality assurance is being done by our construction management team, that's GEI, and we have a very you have to use the FERC required QSIP program, quality control inspection program. And so same one that we're using on Anderson Dam Tunnel Project. And it's a standard, QA program where you're observing the contractor's quality control and making sure they're in compliance with not only the specifications, but their own quality control program. And then it'll be a contractor QC program, but they have to use an independent firm.
And is GEI a company that we hire to work for us to monitor the contractor?
Yes.
Got it. So we have an outside company that we hire to keep an eye on the work 24/7. Right.
And then also, in addition to just our own construction management firm that does the QA, we also have our own on-site valley water inspectors. And then also, because this is a dam project, DSOD and does their own independent inspection, the Division of Safety of Dams does their own inspection. So we actually anticipate DSOD being on site probably in full time. And then FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, also does inspections as well.
And DSOD is a California agencies. Oh.
When you are evaluating the contractors, will you be evaluating their quality assurance programs?
Yeah, that's actually one of the metrics that they're evaluated on. They have to submit on 5 different areas, one of them being project management. In that project management sector, they have to describe their approach to quality control for the project.
Great. I think we've got one on Zoom here, Jen.
Yes, I do. What is the updated completion timeline?
The project will be completed in December 2033.
Thank you. Do we have any other in the room? Yep.
Went right over.
When will Anderson Lake be open for boating? 2033, 2035, 2037?
How good's your weather dance?
Back one slide, you'll see the timeline.
Yeah, the project will be completed 2033, and it's hard to predict when the reservoir will actually be able to fill with water, because that depends on, several factors like, hydrological events, imported water availability. So that's a difficult question to answer.
So this is a fun fact for those of you that are new at this meeting. This outlet's been open since ordered by FERC. In that January, February, March, when it rained so much, the reservoir was at dead pool, but by the end of March, it was at 60%. And it took until August to drain out, which speaks to how good of a reservoir this is to capture water from the rain, but also how small our current outlet is and why it needs to be much bigger. And but if we have a storm like that, it'll be full, ready to go.
But yeah, exactly. If we have a wet winter, it will fill it within one season. If you have a drought, it might.
Well, thank you all for being here tonight. I do want to take the opportunity and the time to thank Valley Water for continuing to come out and do these meetings. We have a very good working relationship and a partnership with Valley Water. John and I stay in contact quite often about various projects that are going on here in the city. I do get the frustration and the aggravation over the time frame that this is taking. I think when this broke ground, I might have been graduating kindergarten. But it is frustrating for us to have to put up with this. But at the same time, it really is not Valley Water who's causing the delay. Their hands are tied based on state and federal regulations that they've had to comply with. And their commitment is to our community, the safety of our community, and a quality project when this is done. So I just want to say thank you for that. And again, for all of you coming out to these meetings and gathering information and learning more about this project. So thank you to Valley Water. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you, Mayor Turner. Any other, Jan, we got one more on Zoom? Okay. We always like to end with the mayor, but.
Sorry, we got a last minute one. Given federal policy changes and budget reductions, will that impact the timeline of this project?
No, because dam safety is a priority. So it has not impacted the federal agencies that we work with
At this time.
at this time that we know.
That was an initial comment.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some staff members and things like that, but we've been able to have folks step up in those different, like at FERC or other agencies. If there was some of these furloughs or early retirements, we've done a great job of continuing the progress with folks who are.
Any other questions in the room? Going once? All right.
I have questions. How many of you in the room have toured Anderson Dam when we have a tour? Raise your hands, please. Very few. How many of you have toured the tunnel project in the last year by a raise of hands? That's not a very good number. Now, we promote, Doug, you've had your chance. We have promoted this ad nauseum. We invite the public. We have these tours that you could see firsthand exactly what we're doing. And what I'm seeing is a very lack of attendance. You're here and you're asking some really good questions. You need to participate. We would like you to participate when we're inviting you to tour. Because this is, you get a bird's eye view, you get a bird's eye view of exactly what we are doing. Now, here's another question for you. How many of you were here in the 1950s? Raise your hand. Interesting.
What was the question?
How many of you were here in the 1950s in Morgan Hill? Okay, so you're standing at the top of Anderson Dam. It was completed in the early 50s. And you're looking west to El Toro. What do you see? What is your vision in the 1950s? You see orchards, you see farms. You see very small amount of population. All the way to Alto, you see nothing but green. Now you're standing there today and you're looking west. What do you see? You see population, you see housing, you see development, you see people. In the 1950s, Mayor, maybe you have this number. I believe we had a population here of close to 15,000 people in the 1950s. Okay, lower.
Yeah.
Okay, lower.
Yeah.
So where are we today? 150,000 people?
No.
46,000.
46,000.
My numbers are off. So what I'm trying to do here is to have a visual impact. Your questions are incredible. You have 7 board members of the board of directors that listen to these comments, and we react to your statements and your comments because we represent you. We were the elected to represent you. We are the ones that approve the budgets. We make sure that the public is aware. We have public meetings. We invite you to our board meetings so that you can participate. They're available online. All our meetings are online. So I invite you to be a participant. Ask those tough questions of our board members when we're holding our board meetings. Because this is one way that you could continue to have interaction, not just with the elected one in this district, but all 7 members of our board. Because we're all involved in approving, funding, budgeting this project. And of all the dams, we have 10 dams and reservoirs. This is our single largest. Now, we talked about imported water. Imported water costs approximately $800 an acre foot. When it's in a drought period, we're looking at close to $2,000 an acre foot to import water that's piped into San Luis, piped down into the Santa Clara Valley, up to our water treatment facilities, and then back to you and your homes and your residences, to the various water agencies that supply your water. So we are water managers. We are here for you. If you have more questions, you can always reach out to me. I'm available, I'm accessible. Come to you, or you come to me. We could meet at Pete's Coffee or any place you would like to meet to further this discussion. Thank you all for being here tonight. We appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And we'll still be here in the back if you want to look at the boards and have any side questions. And we have lots of Lawson's Bakery for you and some coffee and water. Thank you again, everyone, and have a great evening.